The distant howl of a coyote pierced the night as Katherine Dawson clutched her 6-year-old daughter Emma's hand. Their meager belongings packed in a single carpetbag as they stepped off the stagecoach into the dust of Tonopah Junction, Nevada. The year was 1878, and Katherine had never felt more alone in her life. "Mama, I'm hungry," Emma whispered, her small face smudged with dirt from the 3-day journey that had depleted their last few coins. Katherine knelt down, brushing a strand of blonde hair from her daughter's face. "I know, sweetheart. We'll find something soon." The words felt hollow in her mouth. Her husband Thomas had been dead for 6 months now, consumption taking him quickly and leaving nothing but debts that forced them from their home in St. Louis. The promise of work at her cousin's boarding house had brought them west, but the letter waiting for them at the stagecoach office had shattered that hope. "Mrs. Dawson," the station master approached, his weathered face grim in the lamplight, "I'm afraid I have news. Your cousin Martha passed 2 weeks ago. Influenza took half the town last month." Katherine felt her knees weaken. "But her boarding house sold to cover her debts." "I'm sorry, madam." 28 years old, widowed, homeless, and now without prospects in a frontier town where she knew no one, Katherine fought the urge to collapse into the dust. Instead, she straightened her back and tightened her grip on Emma's hand. "Is there anywhere in town we might find lodging for the night, and perhaps work tomorrow?" The station master scratched his gray beard. "Hotels full with miners passing through. There's the saloon, but—" His eyes flicked to Emma, "not suitable for a lady and child." "Church might help, but Reverend Wilson's gone to Carson City until next week." "Mama," Emma tugged at her skirt, eyes growing heavy with exhaustion. Katherine was about to ask about sleeping in the station when the saloon doors across the street burst open, spilling light and piano music into the night. A man stumbled out, followed by the angry shouts of the bartender. "And stay out, McCormick, come back when you can pay your tab." The man McCormick steadied himself against a hitching post, his tall frame silhouetted against the saloon lights. He didn't appear drunk, just weary as he adjusted his hat and turned toward the station. Katherine instinctively pulled Emma closer as he approached. The station master nodded. "Evening, Isaac?" "Hank," the man acknowledged, then noticed Katherine and Emma. In the dim light of the station lamp, Katherine could see he was perhaps in his mid-30s, with dark hair beneath his hat and several days' worth of stubble on his face. His clothes were worn but clean denim pants, a faded blue shirt, and a leather vest. A gun belt hung at his hip like most men in these parts wore. "Ladies," he tipped his hat, revealing kind eyes that crinkled at the corners. Hank gestured toward them. "This here's Mrs. Dawson and her daughter." Just arrived to find Martha Simmons passed on. Understanding dawned in the man's eyes. "Martha's cousin from back east. I'm sorry for the trouble, madam." His voice was deep but gentle. "Isaac McCormick. I have a ranch about 5 miles outside town. Katherine Dawson. This is my daughter, Emma." She kept her voice steady, determined not to appear as desperate as she felt. Emma, usually shy with strangers, looked up at the tall cowboy. "Do you have horses, mister?" A smile softened his weathered face. "Sure do. Got 8 of them, including a new foal born last month." "I love horses," Emma said with the first genuine enthusiasm Katherine had heard from her in weeks. Isaac McCormick knelt to Emma's level, his movements deliberate and gentle for such a large man. "Is that so? Well, they're fine animals." Then he looked back up at Katherine, a question in his eyes. Hank cleared his throat. "Mrs. Dawson needs a place to stay tonight. Thought maybe the church, but Reverend's away." Isaac stood, brushing dust from his knees. "There's Mrs. Calloway's boarding house on Willow Street. She might have a room." "Closed last week," Hank said. "Her son came and took her to live in Sacramento. Her rheumatism got too bad." Katherine felt the last of her hopes slipping away. Emma leaned heavily against her side, nearly asleep on her feet. Isaac McCormick studied them for a long moment, then seemed to come to a decision. "Mrs. Dawson, I have a proposition that might sound unusual, but I assure you it's offered with the utmost respect." Katherine stiffened, having heard such propositions from men since the day Thomas died. As if reading her thoughts, Isaac shook his head. "Nothing improper, madam, it's just— I have a daughter too, Lily. She's 8, lost her mother when she was 3. He paused, seeming to struggle with his words. "My sister used to help care for her, but she married and moved to California last month. I've been trying to manage, but—" He looked at Emma's drooping form. "Your daughter needs a home tonight. My daughter needs a mother's hand. I have a room you could use, completely private, and maybe we could help each other." Katherine's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "How exactly would I be helping you, Mr. McCormick?" "I need someone to care for Lily while I work the ranch. It's spring roundup and I'm away from sunup to sundown. I've been leaving her with neighbors, but it's not ideal." He straightened his shoulders. "I can offer room and board for you both, and wages too, proper employment, Mrs. Dawson." "Nothing more." Katherine hesitated, weighing her limited options against trusting a stranger. "And where would we stay tonight?" "I've got a wagon. We could head to the ranch now, or if you prefer, there's a small room behind the mercantile where the owner lets travelers stay in emergencies." "I could arrange it with Mr. Abernathy." Emma swayed against her, nearly asleep. The thought of a proper bed, even in a stranger's home, was tempting after 3 nights on the hard stagecoach bench. "I assure you, Mrs. Dawson, my only interest is finding proper care for my daughter." "And it seems you need shelter for yours." Katherine took a deep breath. "We'll accept your offer of employment, Mr. McCormick, at least until I can find something more suitable in town, but I want to be clear this is a business arrangement." Relief washed over his face. "Of course, nothing more." He reached for their carpetbag. "My wagon's this way. It's not the finest transportation, but it'll get us home." Home. The word sounded strange. Katherine hadn't had a home since they'd sold everything in St. Louis. She followed Isaac McCormick to his wagon, helping a half-asleep Emma climb onto the wooden bench. As they pulled away from Tonopah Junction, the coyote howled again in the distance. Katherine pulled Emma close against the night chill, wondering what she had just committed them to, yet grateful not to be sleeping in the open air. The journey to Isaac McCormick's ranch took nearly an hour over rutted dirt roads, the wagon swaying beneath them like a ship at sea. Emma had fallen asleep against Katherine's side, while Isaac handled the reins with quiet competence, occasionally pointing out landmarks visible in the moonlight. "That's Coyote Ridge," he said, nodding toward a jagged line of hills to the west. "Beyond that is Martin's Creek, where we water the cattle in dry months." His deep voice was reassuring in the darkness. "My place is in the valley just ahead. It's not fancy, but it's solid. Built it myself 5 years ago." Katherine had been watching his profile against the starlit sky, trying to gauge the character of this man she was trusting with their safety. His hands were calloused and strong on the reins, his posture straight despite obvious fatigue. There was something reliable in his stillness, a quality Thomas had possessed before the gambling fever took hold of him. "Your daughter," she began tentatively. "You said she lost her mother when she was 3, Isaac nodded, eyes fixed on the road. "Sarah. We came west together from Pennsylvania. She took fever after Lily was born, lingered a while, then passed in her sleep." The pain was still evident in his voice, even after 5 years. "My sister Rebecca moved in to help with Lily, but I always knew it was temporary. She deserved her own life." "I'm sorry," Katherine said softly. "Emma's father, my husband Thomas, died 6 months ago, consumption." Isaac glanced at her, hard for a child to understand. "Yes," Katherine stroked Emma's hair, "she asks for him still." The wagon crested a small rise, and below them, Katherine could make out the shape of a ranch house nestled against a stand of cottonwood trees. A barn stood nearby, and in the pasture beyond, dark shapes of cattle were visible against the lighter grass. "Here we are," Isaac said, guiding the team down the slope. "The McCormick Ranch, nothing grand, but it's paid for." As they drew closer, Katherine could see it was indeed a modest place, but well maintained. The main house was a single-story structure built of sturdy logs with a covered porch spanning the front. A lantern burned in one window, casting a warm glow into the yard. Isaac pulled the wagon to a stop and set the brake. "Mrs. Fletcher from down the valley is staying with Lily tonight. Good woman, but she's getting on in years. Can't keep up with an 8-year-old for long." He jumped down from the wagon and came around to help Katherine. His hands were strong and steady as he assisted her to the ground, then gently lifted the sleeping Emma into his arms. "I've got her," he said when Katherine reached to take her daughter. "You must be exhausted yourself." The front door opened before they reached it, spilling more light into the yard. A plump, elderly woman appeared, her gray hair pulled into a tight bun. "About time, Isaac McCormick. I was about to send out a search party." Her stern expression softened when she saw Katherine and the sleeping child in Isaac's arms. "Oh, you must be the new housekeeper he went to fetch." Katherine blinked in confusion. "I, Mrs. Fletcher, this is Mrs. Dawson and her daughter Emma," Isaac said quickly. "They just arrived in town today and found themselves without lodging. I've offered Mrs. Dawson the position we discussed." The older woman's eyebrows rose, but she nodded. "Well, thank goodness, Lily's been in need of proper looking after." The child's wilder than a jackrabbit. She gathered her shawl around her shoulders. "She's asleep in her room, been asking for you all day, Isaac. I'll look in on her. Is Jasper around? That old dog, last I saw he was curled up by the stove." Mrs. Fletcher turned to Katherine. "You'll have your hands full with these two, Mrs. Dawson, but they're good souls. Even the dog." After Mrs. Fletcher departed, Isaac carried Emma inside, Katherine following close behind. The interior of the ranch house was simple but comfortable, a main room with a stone fireplace, a sturdy table with 4 chairs, a few pieces of well-worn furniture. A corridor led off to what Katherine presumed were bedrooms. "Kitchen's through there," Isaac nodded toward a doorway. "Your room will be the one at the end of the hall." It was Rebecca's. He carried Emma down the corridor and shouldered open the last door. "I'll put her here for now, if that's all right." Katherine nodded, taking in the modest but clean room with its narrow bed, chest of drawers, and small window covered with a checkered curtain. Isaac laid Emma gently on the bed, and Katherine removed her shoes, covering her with the quilt folded at the foot. "I should look in on Lily," Isaac whispered. "Then I'll bring your bag and show you around." Left alone with Emma, Katherine sank onto the edge of the bed, the events of the day catching up with her. She had come west with such hope, only to find her cousin dead and her plans shattered. Now she was in a stranger's home, dependent on his goodwill, with no idea what tomorrow would bring. Yet something about Isaac McCormick's quiet strength reassured her. He seemed honorable, a man of his word, and she was desperately in need of shelter and work. Emma stirred slightly, mumbling in her sleep, and Katherine smoothed her hair. "It's all right, sweetheart," she whispered. "We're safe for now." A soft knock at the door announced Isaac's return. He had removed his hat, revealing thick dark hair in need of a trim, and carried their carpet bag. "Thought you might need this," he said, setting it inside the door. "Lily's still sleeping. You can meet her in the morning." "Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Isaac, please, no need for formality out here." He ran a hand through his hair, suddenly looking uncertain. "I realize this is all very sudden. I want you to know you're under no obligation to stay if the arrangement doesn't suit you. I can take you back to town tomorrow if you prefer." Katherine appreciated his directness. "I understand, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, truly." "We'll see how things go," he nodded, relief evident in his face. "Well then, the washroom is across the hall. There's a pump in the kitchen for water. I'm up at dawn, but you and Emma can rest as long as you need after your journey. We're early risers. I'd like to begin earning our keep right away." A smile touched his lips, crinkling the corners of his eyes. "I had a feeling you might say that. Good night then, Mrs. Dawson." "Katherine," she offered. If they were to live under the same roof, even temporarily, such formality seemed unnecessary. "Katherine," he repeated, the name sounding different in his deep voice. "Sleep well." After he left, Katherine changed into her nightgown and slipped into bed beside Emma, who immediately curled against her. Despite her exhaustion, sleep eluded her as she listened to the unfamiliar sounds of the ranch, the distant lowing of cattle, the creaking of the house timbers, the soft padding of what must be the dog, Jasper, moving through the hallway. She thought of Isaac McCormick, his weathered face and kind eyes. There was sadness there, a man who had known loss just as she had. Perhaps that shared understanding was why she had trusted him enough to come here, or perhaps she had simply been desperate enough to accept any port in a storm. Either way, she was here now, and tomorrow would bring its own challenges. Katherine closed her eyes, her last thought a prayer that she had made the right decision for Emma's sake. Morning came with the crowing of a rooster and the smell of coffee brewing. Katherine dressed quickly, leaving Emma still sleeping, and made her way to the kitchen. Isaac stood at the stove, his back to her as he tended a skillet of frying bacon. "Good morning," she said softly. He turned, surprise and something like appreciation flickering in his eyes as he took in her appearance. Katherine had chosen her plainest dress, navy blue with white piping at the collar, her chestnut hair pulled back in a simple knot. "Good morning. Didn't expect you up so early." He gestured to the stove. "Hope you don't mind, I'm used to cooking for myself." "Not at all, though I should be the one making breakfast if I'm to earn my keep." A small voice came from behind her. "Papa." Katherine turned to find a girl standing in the doorway, her nightgown rumpled, long dark hair in tangles around her small face. Lily McCormick had her father's eyes and something of his serious expression, though hers held a wariness that tugged at Katherine's heart. "Who's she?" Lily asked, staring at Katherine. Isaac set down his spatula and crossed to his daughter, kneeling before her. "Lily, this is Mrs. Dawson. Remember I told you I was going to find someone to help us now that Aunt Rebecca's gone." He glanced up at Katherine. "Mrs. Dawson and her daughter Emma are going to stay with us for a while." Lily's eyes narrowed. "Is she going to be like Mrs. Fletcher and tell me I can't climb trees?" Isaac chuckled. "Mrs. Dawson will have her own rules, I'm sure, but she's here to take care of you while I'm working." "Where's her daughter?" "Still sleeping," Katherine said gently, moving closer and crouching to Lily's level. "Emma's 6, a bit younger than you. I think you two might become friends." Lily considered this, then asked with a child's bluntness, "Do you know how to make biscuits?" "Aunt Rebecca made the best biscuits." "I do," Katherine smiled. "Would you like me to make some for breakfast tomorrow?" The girl nodded solemnly. "Papa's bacon is good, but his biscuits are hard as rocks." "Lily," Isaac admonished, though there was no real anger in his tone. "Well, they are." Katherine laughed, the sound surprising her. It had been so long since she'd had reason to laugh. "I'd be happy to take over the biscuit-making duties, Mr. McCormick." "Isaac," he reminded her, standing and returning to the stove to rescue the bacon before it burned. "And I gladly surrender all baking responsibilities. My talents lie elsewhere, like fixing fences and delivering calves," Lily supplied, climbing onto a chair at the table. "Papa can do anything with animals and broken things." Something warmed in Katherine at this simple, prideful assessment from daughter to father. It was clear the bond between them was strong, despite the absence of a mother in Lily's life. A small figure appeared in the doorway, clutching a well-worn rag doll. "Mama," Emma called, her voice uncertain. "Here, sweetheart," Katherine beckoned. "Come meet Lily and her father." Emma approached cautiously, pressing against Katherine's skirts as she regarded the strangers. Her shyness didn't last long when Lily slid from her chair and came to examine the doll. "What's her name?" Lily asked. "Susie," Emma replied. "Papa gave her to me." "I have a doll too, want to see her. She's in my room." Lily held out her hand. Emma looked to Katherine for permission, which she granted with a nod, and the two girls disappeared down the hallway, Lily already chattering about her toys and promising to show Emma the new kittens in the barn later. "Well," Isaac said, watching them go, "that's a promising start." "It is," Katherine agreed, moving to help him serve the breakfast he'd prepared. "Emma hasn't made a friend since." She trailed off, not wanting to dwell on the painful months after Thomas's death. Isaac seemed to understand. Children adapt, sometimes faster than we do. He poured coffee into 2 mugs, offering one to Katherine. I should explain about the work here. It's roundup season, so I'm gathering cattle from the far pastures, branding the new calves. I'll be gone from dawn till dusk most days this week. I understand. What would you like me to do besides caring for Lily? The usual household tasks: cooking, cleaning, laundry. Rebecca handled all that before. He hesitated. And if you're willing, Lily needs schooling. Rebecca started teaching her letters and figures, but she's behind where she should be. I've tried, but I was a schoolteacher before I married, Katherine said, surprising herself with the admission. She rarely spoke of her life before Thomas. I'd be happy to continue Lily's education. Relief washed over Isaac's face. That would be more than I hoped for. He sipped his coffee, studying her over the rim of his mug. May I ask what brought you west, Katherine? Hank mentioned you came to stay with your cousin. Katherine nodded, gathering her thoughts. My husband left us with debts. After he died, I sold everything to pay what I could, but it wasn't enough. We had to leave St. Louis. The shame of it still burned. Martha wrote offering work at her boarding house. It seemed like Providence. I'm sorry about your cousin, Isaac said softly. Martha was well liked in town. I barely knew her. We'd met only once at my wedding, but she was kind to offer help when we needed it. Katherine looked down at her coffee. Now I'm not sure what we'll do. You have a place here for as long as you need it. His voice was steady, sincere. Lily already seems taken with Emma, and God knows she needs a woman's influence. Before Katherine could respond, the girls returned, Lily proudly showing Emma a cloth doll with button eyes and yarn hair. Her name is Daisy, she announced. Emma says she and Susie can be sisters. That sounds like a fine idea, Isaac smiled, setting plates of bacon and eggs on the table. Now come eat your breakfast, both of you. I've got work to do, and Lily, you need to show Emma around the place today. As they ate, Katherine observed the easy way Isaac interacted with his daughter, gentle, teasing, patient answers to her many questions, the occasional brush of his hand over her tangled hair. There was love there, and Katherine felt a pang for Emma, who had lost that father's touch in her life. After breakfast, Isaac prepared to leave for the day's work. He knelt to give Lily a hug, whispering something that made her giggle, then stood and collected his hat from a peg by the door. There's a list on the shelf there, he told Katherine. Things we need from town. I usually go on Saturdays, but if you need anything sooner, just let me know. We'll be fine, she assured him. Don't worry about us. He nodded, then seemed to hesitate before saying, Thank you, Katherine, having you here. It means a great deal. With that, he was gone, the door closing firmly behind him. Katherine watched through the window as he crossed the yard to the barn, his tall figure moving with purpose. This arrangement might be born of necessity for both of them, but there was something about Isaac McCormick that made her think it could be more than merely convenient. Shaking off such thoughts, she turned to the girls. Well, shall we start with washing these dishes, and then Lily can give us that tour? The day passed in a flurry of activity as Katherine familiarized herself with the ranch house and its routines. Lily proved an enthusiastic guide, showing Katherine and Emma the chicken coop. We get eggs every day. The vegetable garden. Papa says I have to eat at least one green thing at dinner. And the barn where 3 new kittens nestled with their mother in a pile of hay. The house itself was sturdy, but showed signs of a woman's absence: dusty corners, curtains that needed washing, a pantry in disarray. Katherine set about bringing order, with Emma and Lily helping in small ways. By mid-afternoon, she had prepared a stew for dinner and set bread to rise, then gathered the girls for an impromptu reading lesson. Lily's knowledge of letters was indeed spotty, but she showed keen intelligence and eagerness to learn, especially when Emma demonstrated her own reading skills. Mama taught me at home, Emma explained, carefully sounding out words from the book Lily had brought, a worn copy of Bible stories. My mama died, Lily said matter-of-factly. I don't remember her much. Catherine's heart ached at the simple statement. Your father keeps her memory alive for you, though, doesn't he? Lily nodded. He tells me stories sometimes, says I have her smile. She looked thoughtful. Is Emma's papa dead too, Lily? Catherine started to admonish, but Emma answered before she could. Yes. He got very sick and went to heaven. Emma's voice was steady, but Catherine saw the grief in her daughter's eyes. That's sad, Lily said, then added pragmatically, but now you're here and we can be friends. The simple acceptance in the child's voice brought tears to Catherine's eyes. Out of necessity and loss, these two girls were forging a connection that might help heal both their hearts. As dusk approached, Catherine heard the sound of hoofbeats in the yard. Lily ran to the window, then to the door. Papa's home. Can I go help with Dusty? Stay in the yard, Catherine cautioned, watching from the porch as Lily raced to meet her father, who swung down from his horse with easy grace despite what must have been a grueling day's work. Isaac lifted Lily for a hug, listening to her excited chatter about her day, then glanced toward the house where Catherine stood. Even across the yard, she felt the impact of his gaze, grateful, appraising, and something more that sent an unexpected warmth through her. As they came toward the house, Catherine noticed Isaac limping slightly. You're hurt, she said as they reached the porch. He shook his head. Old injury acts up sometimes, nothing serious. Papa got kicked by a horse last year, Lily informed Emma, who had joined them. Doctor. Simmons said he was lucky it didn't break his leg clean off. Thank you for that vivid detail, Lily, Isaac said dryly. Why don't you show Emma how to feed the chickens before dark? Their feed is in the blue pail. As the girls scampered off, Isaac turned to Catherine. How was your day? Lily behaved herself. She was wonderful, a bright child eager to learn. Catherine gestured toward the door. Dinner's almost ready. There's wash water heated if you'd like to clean up. Gratitude washed over his face. That sounds like heaven. I've been chasing strays through brush all day. He hesitated. Catherine, I want you to know how much I appreciate what you're doing. The house already feels different, better. I'm the one who should be thanking you, she replied softly. You took us in when we had nowhere to go. For a moment they stood looking at each other, an understanding passing between them, two people who had faced loss and hardship, now finding unexpected help in each other. The moment broke when Lily shouted from the chicken coop. Papa, Emma's afraid of Hector. Isaac chuckled. The rooster. He's a mean old bird, but he keeps the snakes away. He stepped past Catherine into the house, the scent of leather and sun-warmed skin lingering in his wake. Catherine stood for a moment on the porch, watching the girls scatter feed for the chickens, Lily boldly shooing away the aggressive rooster when it came too close to Emma. In just one day, this place had begun to feel more like home than anywhere she'd been since leaving St. Louis. It was too soon for such thoughts, she reminded herself. This was a temporary arrangement born of necessity. She shouldn't allow herself or Emma to become too attached. Yet as she turned to follow Isaac into the house, Catherine couldn't help but feel that perhaps fate had brought them to Tonopah Junction for a reason, and that reason might be the tall, quiet rancher and his motherless daughter. The days fell into a rhythm that surprised Catherine with its ease. Each morning, Isaac departed at dawn after a quick breakfast, returning at dusk to find dinner waiting and Lily bursting with stories of her day. Catherine established a routine of household chores in the mornings, school lessons after lunch, and time for the girls to play before helping with dinner preparations. By the end of the first week, the house had been transformed, curtains washed and rehung, floors scrubbed to a shine, pantry reorganized with jars neatly labeled. Catherine took satisfaction in bringing order to the McCormick home, and Isaac's quiet appreciation was evident in his expression each evening as he returned to increasing comfort. On Saturday, Isaac drove them all to town in the wagon. Tonopah Junction looked different in daylight, a single dusty street lined with false-fronted buildings, the center of commerce for ranchers and miners from the surrounding area. The general store was their main destination, where Isaac handed Catherine a pouch of coins. "For household supplies," he explained, "and anything you and Emma might need." Katherine felt a flash of pride being entrusted with the family funds, though she reminded herself this was merely employment, not true family standing. Still, as she moved through the store selecting necessities, Lily's hand often slipped into hers just as naturally as Emma's did on the other side. They were examining bolts of fabric when Katherine became aware of curious glances from other shoppers. A plump woman in a flowered dress finally approached, her smile friendly but her eyes calculating. "You must be Mrs. Dawson. I'm Mabel Turner, my husband runs the feed store." Her gaze swept over Katherine, then the girls. "Word travels fast in a small town. We've all been wondering who Isaac McCormick found to replace his sister." Something in her tone made Katherine straighten. "Mr. McCormick has employed me to care for his daughter and household, yes. It's a perfectly respectable arrangement." "Of course, dear," Mabel patted her arm. "Though living under the same roof. Well, tongues will wag. Isaac is quite the eligible widower after all. Many a local girl has set her cap for him." Before Katherine could formulate a response, Isaac appeared beside them, his expression unreadable. "Mrs. Turner, I see you've met Mrs. Dawson." "Indeed," Mabel smiled, "just welcoming her to our little community." "Katherine is a godsend for Lily and me," Isaac said firmly. "I hope everyone in town will make her feel welcome." His use of her first name didn't escape Mabel's notice. "Certainly. Will we see you all at church tomorrow?" "Reverend Wilson's back from Carson City." "We'll be there," Isaac confirmed, then turned to Katherine. "Found everything you need." As they moved away, Katherine murmured, "I think Mrs. Turner was implying something improper about our arrangement." Isaac's jaw tightened. "Small towns run on gossip, I should have warned you. Perhaps I should find lodging in town and leave Lily without the care she's thriving under." "No." His voice was firm. "Unless you're uncomfortable." "No," Katherine admitted, "I'm not." "Then let people talk. They'll find something new to gossip about soon enough." His defense warmed her, though Katherine wasn't naive about frontier sensibilities. A single man and woman living under the same roof, regardless of the circumstances, would raise eyebrows. Still, she had no intention of jeopardizing Emma's security for the sake of idle gossip. The next day brought her first experience with Tonopah Junction's church, a white clapboard building at the end of Main Street. Katherine had carefully pressed her best dress for the occasion, a deep green that Thomas had always admired, and helped Lily arrange her hair in neat braids. "You look pretty," Lily declared, watching Katherine pin her own hair. "Like a picture in a book." The compliment touched her. "Thank you, Lily. You look very pretty yourself." When they emerged from the bedroom, Isaac was waiting with Emma in the front room, both dressed in their Sunday best. He wore a clean white shirt and dark jacket that transformed him from rugged rancher to handsome gentleman. And for a moment, Katherine felt a flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with church attendance. His eyes widened slightly as he took in her appearance. "You both look lovely," he said, his voice oddly rough. The church service was simple but heartfelt, the small sanctuary filled with ranchers, shopkeepers, and their families. Katherine felt curious glances throughout the service, but focused on Reverend Wilson's sermon about finding strength in times of hardship, a message that resonated deeply with her own experience. After the service, Isaac introduced her to several neighbors, including the Fletchers who had helped with Lily, and Dr. Simmons who had treated Isaac's injury. Most were welcoming, though Katherine noted a few women watching her with barely concealed speculation. "Isaac McCormick, you old bear." A booming voice interrupted their conversation with the doctor. A large man with an impressive mustache clapped Isaac on the shoulder. "Didn't believe Mabel when she said you'd finally found yourself a woman." Katherine felt her face grow warm as Isaac frowned. "Walter, this is Mrs. Katherine Dawson. She's helping with Lily and the household." "Katherine, Walter Turner. Pleased to meet you, Mrs. Dawson." Walter winked. "Though I must say, a pretty widow like you could do worse than our Isaac here." "Walter," his wife appeared beside him, looking mortified. "You'll have to excuse my husband, Mrs. Dawson. He never learned the art of discretion." Katherine managed a polite smile, though she noted Isaac's darkening expression. The conversation mercifully shifted to cattle prices, but the incident left her unsettled. The assumption that she and Isaac were, or should be romantically involved seemed to be widespread. On the wagon ride home, Isaac was unusually quiet. The girls chatted in the back, comparing notes on the Sunday school lesson they'd attended, but Katherine could feel tension radiating from the man beside her. Finally, as the ranch came into view, he spoke. "I apologize for Walter Turner's comments, and any discomfort today's visit caused you." "It's not your fault," Katherine assured him. "People will think what they want to think. Still, you came here for honest work, not to be the subject of town gossip." He hesitated. "If you want to leave, find another situation I'd understand." The thought of leaving the ranch, of uprooting Emma again just as she was forming a friendship with Lily, made Katherine's chest tighten. "Is that what you want, for us to leave?" "No," he said quietly, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. "That's the last thing I want." The admission hung between them as he guided the wagon into the ranch yard. Katherine wasn't sure what to make of it, or of her own relief at his answer. That night, after the girls were asleep, Katherine sat at the kitchen table mending one of Lily's dresses. Isaac entered from checking the livestock, pausing in the doorway to watch her work. "My mother used to sew by lamplight," he said softly. "Said she could think better when the house was quiet." Katherine looked up, needle poised mid-stitch. "Mine too." "Though she taught me to leave the difficult mending for daylight." He smiled, then came to sit across from her. "Katherine, there's something I need to say." Her heart quickened at his serious tone. "Yes, what Walter implied today, about us. I want you to know I didn't hire you with any such intentions." "I never thought you did," she assured him. "Good, because your reputation is important and I wouldn't want to compromise it." He paused. "At the same time, I can't deny that having you here, seeing how you are with Lily with the house." He seemed to struggle for words. "It's made me realize what we've been missing, what she's been missing." Katherine set down her mending, uncertain where this conversation was headed. "Lily's a wonderful child. She deserves every advantage. She deserves a mother," Isaac said plainly, "and I've been failing her by not providing one." The implication hung in the air between them. Katherine felt a rush of conflicting emotions: surprise, uncertainty, and something dangerously close to hope. "Isaac, what are you saying?" He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd come to recognize as a sign of his discomfort. "I'm not saying anything exactly, just acknowledging the truth of the situation, and letting you know that while I hired you as Lily's caretaker, I respect you too much to take advantage of our arrangement." Katherine wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or disappointed. "I appreciate that. And I hope you know I would never use your kindness for my own advantage either." "I know." He stood abruptly. "It's late. We should both get some rest." As he turned to leave, Katherine called softly, "Isaac," he paused, looking back at her, "thank you for everything you've done for Emma and me." Something flickered in his eyes: warmth, longing, she couldn't be sure. "Good night, Katherine." After he left, Katherine remained at the table, her mending forgotten. In just over a week, this man and his daughter had become important to her in ways she hadn't expected. The thought of leaving them caused an ache she wasn't prepared for, yet she knew the gossip in town would only intensify. For Emma's sake, for her own reputation, perhaps she should seek another position. But where? And could she bear to separate Emma from Lily now that they had become such fast friends? With no clear answers, Katherine finally retired to bed, where Emma slept peacefully. Whatever came next, she decided, would have to wait for morning light. Morning brought no clarity, only the usual routine of breakfast and Isaac's departure for the day's work. As May turned to June, the Nevada landscape bloomed with unexpected beauty: wildflowers dotting the grasslands, cottonwood trees fully leafed along the creek that ran at the edge of the McCormick property. Katherine took to walking with the girls in the cool of the evening after dinner, exploring the ranch and teaching them to identify plants and birds. Isaac sometimes joined them, his knowledge of the land and its creatures adding depth to their explorations. One evening, nearly a month after their arrival, they walked farther than usual, following the creek to a small pond fringed with willows. The setting sun cast golden light across the water, and a family of ducks paddled serenely near the opposite shore. "Can we catch tadpoles, Papa?" Lily asked, already reaching to remove her shoes. Isaac laughed. "Not today, it'll be dark soon." He glanced at Katherine. "Though we could come back tomorrow, bring a picnic, perhaps?" "Could we, Mama?" Emma's face lit with excitement. "I don't see why not," Katherine agreed, warmed by the girls' enthusiasm. As they walked back to the house, Emma and Lily ran ahead, searching for interesting rocks and sticks. Isaac fell into step beside Katherine, close enough that their hands occasionally brushed, sending small shivers up her arm. "They've become inseparable," he observed, watching the girls. "Like sisters," Katherine agreed. "Emma's happier than I've seen her since before Thomas fell ill. And Lily's thriving with your guidance. Her reading has improved tremendously," Katherine smiled. "She's a bright child, eager to learn, like her mother." Isaac's voice softened. "Sarah was a schoolteacher too, before we married." It was the first time he'd shared details about his late wife since that first night. "You must miss her very much." "I did. For a long time." He was quiet for several steps. "But lately, I've found myself looking forward rather than back." Katherine wasn't sure how to respond to this revelation, so she remained silent, aware of his presence beside her, solid and reassuring in the gathering twilight. "Katherine," he said finally, "there's something I've been meaning to ask you." Her heart quickened, but before he could continue, Lily called from ahead. "Papa, there's a snake." The moment broken, Isaac hurried forward to investigate, discovering only a harmless garter snake that slipped away into the grass. By the time they reached the house, whatever he had intended to say remained unspoken, though Katherine caught him watching her throughout the evening with a thoughtful expression. 2 days later, a letter arrived from St. Louis, a response to inquiries Katherine had sent before leaving, seeking news of possible teaching positions in other towns. The school board in Springfield was seeking a teacher for the fall term and invited her to apply. Katherine stared at the letter, emotions conflicting within her. A teaching position had been her goal when she set out west stable employment that would allow her to provide for Emma independently. Yet the thought of leaving the ranch, leaving Isaac and Lily, caused an almost physical pain. She was still contemplating the letter when Isaac returned that evening, earlier than usual. He found her at the kitchen table, the paper spread before her. "Bad news?" he asked, noting her troubled expression. "Not exactly." She handed him the letter. "An opportunity." "When I saw it before coming here." He read it quickly, his face carefully neutral. "Springfield, that's a good-sized town, proper school, decent salary. Yes, it would be secure employment. When would you need to leave?" His voice was flat, controlled. "August to start the term in September." Katherine watched his face. "It's what I came west hoping to find." Isaac handed the letter back, his fingers brushing hers. "Then you should accept. You're an excellent teacher. Emma would have advantages there." Disappointment washed through her at his ready acceptance. "You think we should go?" "I think," he said carefully, "that you deserve more than being a housekeeper on a small cattle ranch. Both you and Emma do. And what about Lily? She's made such progress with her studies." Something flickered in his eyes, pain, resignation. "Lily will manage. She did before you came." "Isaac," Katherine began, but was interrupted by the girls bursting into the kitchen, demanding to know when dinner would be ready. The conversation wasn't resumed that evening, though Katherine felt Isaac watching her as she moved about the kitchen, as if memorizing her presence. That night, sleep eluded her as she weighed her options. The teaching position offered security and respectability. Staying at the ranch meant, what? Continued employment as a housekeeper, the subject of town gossip, or something more that neither she nor Isaac had found the courage to name. The next morning, Isaac departed before breakfast, leaving word with Lily that he had business in a distant pasture and wouldn't return until late. Katherine tried to focus on the day's tasks, but found her thoughts constantly returning to the decision before her. After lunch, while the girls were napping in the heat of the day, Katherine heard riders approaching. Looking out the window, she saw 3 men she didn't recognize dismounting in the yard. Something in their manner, the way they scanned the property, the rifles slung across their saddles, sent a chill of apprehension through her. When a heavy knock came at the door, Katherine smoothed her apron and went to answer, keeping the screen door latched between them. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" The leader, a stocky man with a pockmarked face, removed his hat. "Madam, we're looking for Isaac McCormick. He's not here at present. I expect him back this evening. I'd be happy to give him a message." The man exchanged glances with his companions. "Mind if we water our horses?" "Been riding since dawn." Katherine hesitated, instinct warning her these men meant trouble. "The pump is there in the yard. Help yourselves." As they moved toward the water trough, Katherine closed the main door, her heart pounding. She considered the rifle Isaac kept above the fireplace, but she'd never fired a gun and wasn't sure she could if necessary. Through the window, she watched the men watering their horses, speaking in low voices. They made no move to leave afterwards, instead settling in the shade of a tree as if waiting. Katherine was deliberating her next move when she heard Emma and Lily stirring from their nap. Making a quick decision, she went to rouse them fully. "Girls, listen carefully," she said, keeping her voice calm. "We're going to play a game. We need to be very quiet and go out the back door to the creek path." "Why, Mama?" Emma asked sleepily. "There are men outside who I don't trust. We're going to go find Isaac." Lily's eyes widened. "Are they bad men, like the ones who stole Mr. Fletcher's cattle?" "I don't know, sweetheart, but I'd feel safer if we went to find your father." Katherine gathered a few essentials into a small bag. "Now, remember, very quiet like mice." She led the girls through the house to the back door that opened toward the creek, out of sight of the men in the front yard. They had just reached the cover of the willows when she heard shouting from the direction of the house. "Hurry," she whispered, taking each girl by the hand. "We need to move quickly but quietly." They followed the creek path that led toward the eastern pastures where Isaac had said he would be working. Katherine had no idea how far they would need to go, but she knew they had to put distance between themselves and the strangers. After nearly an hour of walking, Lily began to tire. "How much further, Mrs. Dawson?" "I'm not sure, sweetheart. Let's rest for a moment." Katherine found a fallen log where they could sit. The creek gurgled peacefully beside them, belying the danger she feared might be following. "Will Papa find us?" Worry creased Lily's small face. "He knows these lands better than anyone," Katherine assured her, hoping it was true, "and he'll come looking for us when he returns home." Emma leaned against her mother's side. "I'm scared, Mama." "I know, darling. But we're together, and that's what matters most." Katherine stroked her daughter's hair, praying she was doing the right thing by fleeing rather than staying at the ranch. A snapping twig made her freeze, arms tightening around both girls. She held her breath, listening intently, then nearly sobbed with relief when Isaac's familiar form appeared through the trees, leading his horse. "Katherine," confusion and concern warred on his face. "What are you doing out here, Papa?" Lily broke free and ran to him. He scooped her up, eyes never leaving Katherine's face. "There are men at the ranch," Katherine explained quickly. "3 of them, armed. They said they were looking for you, but something didn't feel right. They wouldn't leave, so I brought the girls this way, hoping to find you." Isaac's expression darkened. "Did they give names?" "No, but Lily mentioned cattle thieves." He nodded grimly. "The Harlow gang. They've been rustling cattle throughout the territory." He set Lily down and approached Katherine, placing his hands on her shoulders. "You did right to leave." "Those men are dangerous." Relief washed through her. "What do we do now?" "There's a lined shack about half a mile from here. You and the girls will be safe there while I ride for the sheriff." He glanced at the sky. "It'll be dark soon. I should be back by morning." Katherine felt fear clutch at her heart. "Be careful, Isaac." Something in her voice made him look at her intently. His hands tightened on her shoulders, then slid down to grasp her own. "I will, for all our sakes." The Line shack proved to be a simple one-room structure with a small stove, a narrow cot, and basic supplies. Isaac got them settled, built a small fire in the stove, and made sure they had water and food before preparing to leave. "Keep the door barred," he instructed Katherine. "Don't open it for anyone but me," she nodded, trying to hide her fear. "We'll be fine, just come back safely." He hesitated at the door, then turned back to her. "Katherine, if anything happens, nothing will happen," she interrupted firmly. "You'll return with the sheriff and those men will be arrested." A ghost of a smile touched his lips, always so certain. His gaze moved to the girls huddled together on the cot. "Take care of them and yourself." After he left, Katherine barred the door as instructed and set about making the shack comfortable for the night. She found blankets in a trunk, spread them on the cot for the girls, and prepared a simple meal from the supplies Isaac had left. As darkness fell, she told the girls stories to distract them from their fear, spinning tales of brave knights and clever princesses, until they finally drifted to sleep. Katherine remained awake, listening to the night sounds outside, the whisper of wind in the trees, the occasional call of an owl, and beneath it all, her own heartbeat counting the hours until Isaac's return. It was the longest night of her life, every crack and rustle making her tense with apprehension. By dawn, exhaustion had overtaken her, and she dozed fitfully in a chair by the door. The sound of approaching horses brought her instantly alert. Peering through a crack in the shuttered window, she saw Isaac riding toward the shack, accompanied by another man wearing a badge. Relief made her knees weak as she hurried to unbar the door. Isaac dismounted quickly, his eyes searching her face. "Are you all right?" "We're fine, just tired." She looked past him. "Did you find those men?" "Gone by the time we reached the ranch," the sheriff said, removing his hat. "But we found signs they'd been inside. Looks like they were searching for something." Isaac's expression was troubled. "The strongbox where I keep the cattle money." "It's gone," Katherine gasped. "Oh, Isaac, I'm so sorry. If I'd stayed, you'd have been in danger," he cut her off firmly. "Money can be replaced. You and the girls cannot." The sheriff cleared his throat. "I've sent telegrams to neighboring towns to watch for the Harlows. With luck, we'll catch them before they get far." He looked from Isaac to Katherine. "Madam, you showed good instincts getting the little ones to safety." After the sheriff departed, promising to return with any news, Isaac insisted on checking the ranch before bringing Katherine and the girls back. He returned an hour later, reporting that nothing else appeared to be missing or damaged. "It's safe to go home now," he told them, helping Emma onto his horse before lifting Lily up behind her. Katherine walked beside him as they made their way back to the ranch, the events of the previous day leaving her strangely light-headed with the aftermath of fear. "I should have been there," Isaac said suddenly, his voice tight with self-reproach. "If anything had happened to you or the girls." "But nothing did," Katherine reminded him. "We're all safe." He stopped, turning to face her. "Because of your quick thinking." "Katherine, when I saw you on that path yesterday with Lily and Emma," he took a deep breath. "I realized something I've been trying to deny." Her heart quickened. "What's that?" "That you've become more than Lily's caretaker, more than my housekeeper." His eyes held hers, intense and unwavering. "You've become essential to both of us." Katherine felt warmth spread through her chest. "Isaac, I know about the teaching position," he continued. "And I understand if that's what you want, but before you decide, I need you to know." He took her hands in his. "I need you to know that there's a place for you here, not as an employee, but as..." "As what?" she whispered, hardly daring to hope. "As my wife." The words came out in a rush. "If you would consider it. I know it's sudden and perhaps not what you came west seeking, but..." Katherine silenced him by placing her fingers against his lips. "It's not sudden at all. It's been building since that first night at the stagecoach station." She smiled up at him. "When you said your daughter needed a mother and my daughter needed a home." Relief and joy transformed his face. "Then you'll stay, you'll marry me?" "Yes," she said simply. "I will," from atop the horse, Lily called. "What are you two talking about? Can we go home now? I'm hungry." Isaac laughed, the sound full and free in a way Katherine had never heard before. "Yes, we're going home, and I think we have some news to share with you and Emma." As they continued toward the ranch, Katherine felt a sense of rightness settle over her. The teaching position in Springfield was a dream from before she knew Isaac, before Emma and Lily became inseparable, before this small Nevada ranch became the home she'd been seeking all along. That evening, after the girls had been told of their parents' plans and had fallen asleep curled together like puppies, Isaac found Katherine on the porch, gazing at the stars. "Having second thoughts?" he asked, settling beside her on the step. "Not one," she assured him, leaning against his shoulder. "Though I am wondering what the good people of Tonopah Junction will say when they hear the news," Isaac chuckled. "They'll say they knew it all along, especially Mabel Turner, and they'd be right, wouldn't they?" "It was there from the beginning." He turned to face her, his expression serious in the moonlight. "I never expected to love again after Sarah, thought that part of me was finished." His hand came up to cup her cheek. "Then you stepped off that stagecoach, proud and determined despite everything you'd been through, and something inside me recognized you." Katherine covered his hand with her own. "I felt it too, even when I tried to deny it." "No more denying," Isaac murmured, leaning closer. "No more pretending we're just employer and employee." "No more," she agreed, as his lips found hers in a kiss that felt like coming home after a long journey. 3 weeks later, they were married by Reverend Wilson in the Tonopah Junction Church, with Lily and Emma as their attendants and the entire community as witnesses. Katherine wore a new dress of pale blue silk, ordered specially from Carson City, and carried wildflowers gathered from the ranch meadows that morning. The wedding supper was held at the ranch, with tables set up under the cottonwood trees and lanterns hung from the branches. Neighbors brought dishes to share, and Walter Turner provided a barrel of his home-brewed beer, which flowed freely as toasts were offered to the new family. As twilight deepened, Isaac found Katherine sitting with Emma and Lily, watching the celebration continue around them. "Mrs. McCormick," he said formally, extending his hand. "May I have this dance?" Katherine took his hand, allowing him to lead her to the cleared space where other couples were already moving to the music provided by a fiddle and banjo. "Are you happy?" he asked as they swayed together, his arm secure around her waist. She looked up at him, at the face that had become so dear in such a short time. "Completely, are you?" "More than I ever thought possible." His gaze moved to where the girls sat giggling together. "Look at them. Sisters in all but blood now." "Family," Katherine agreed, following his gaze. "Our family." Later that night, after the guests had departed and the girls were asleep in Lily's room now to be shared by both children, Isaac led Katherine to the main bedroom, newly furnished with a larger bed and curtains she had sewn herself. "Welcome home," he said softly, closing the door behind them. In the privacy of their room, Katherine found her nervousness melting away beneath Isaac's gentle touch and evident love. Their coming together felt natural, right the consummation of a bond that had been forming since that first night at the stagecoach station. Afterwards, lying in his arms as moonlight streamed through the window, Katherine thought about the twists of fate that had brought her here. The loss of Thomas, the desperate journey west, Martha's death, all painful events that had nonetheless led her to this moment, this man, this life. "What are you thinking?" Isaac murmured, his fingers trailing lazily along her arm. "That sometimes we find what we need in the most unexpected places." She turned to face him, tracing the strong line of his jaw. "I came west looking for security, a way to support Emma. I never imagined finding love again." "Nor I," he admitted. "After Sarah died, I thought my heart was buried with her. I focused on Lily on the ranch, convinced that was all I needed." He gathered her closer. "I was wrong." They fell silent, content in each other's presence, until Katherine remembered something. "The strongbox that was stolen, was it a great loss?" Isaac shook his head. Most of the money was in the bank in Tonopah Junction. What they got was barely enough to make it worthwhile. He kissed her forehead. "Don't worry about it, the sheriff will catch up to them eventually." Still, it was frightening. "If anything had happened to you." "Nothing did," he reminded her, echoing her own words from days before. "We're all safe now," and they were, Katherine realized. Safe in a way that went beyond physical security, safe in the knowledge of being truly loved, of belonging, of having found a home and family when all had seemed lost. As summer turned to fall and fall to winter, the McCormick Ranch flourished under the care of its expanded family. Katherine took charge of the household accounts, revealing a head for business that impressed Isaac and helped the ranch prosper. The garden she planted yielded bountifully, and her preserves filled the cellar shelves for winter. Emma and Lily became inseparable, true sisters in all but blood, their different temperaments complementing each other perfectly. Under Katherine's tutelage, both girls excelled in their studies, and Isaac built them a small desk where they could do their lessons by the fire on cold days. Katherine declined the position in Springfield with no regrets, though she did eventually begin teaching several neighboring children whose families lived too far from town to attend the Tonopah Junction school regularly. 3 days a week, the McCormick Ranch became a schoolhouse for 6 children, with Katherine conducting lessons at the dining table while the smaller ones napped on pallets by the fire. In January, Katherine shared the news she had suspected for weeks their family would grow by one in the summer. Isaac's joy was matched only by the girl's excitement at the prospect of a new brother or sister. "Will it be a boy or a girl?" Lily demanded, her hands gentle on Katherine's still flat stomach. "We won't know until the baby arrives," Katherine explained, sharing an amused glance with Isaac. "I hope it's a boy," Emma declared. "Then we'll have one of each in our family." "Our family," Isaac repeated, meeting Katherine's eyes over the girls' heads. "I like the sound of that." As her body changed with the growing child, Katherine found herself thinking often of her journey west nearly a year before how close she had come to passing by the McCormick Ranch. How different their lives might have been if Isaac hadn't been in town that night, if she had found other lodging, if fate hadn't conspired to bring them together. On a warm July evening, with Lily and Emma staying at the Fletcher farm, Katherine gave birth to a son they named James Thomas McCormick. Isaac was present throughout her labor, his steady support giving her strength through the pain, his tears of joy matching her own when the midwife placed their son in her arms. "He's perfect," Isaac whispered, one finger tracing the tiny features that somehow combined the best of both of them. "Just like his mother." When the girls were brought home the next day, their awe at the tiny new arrival was touching to behold. Lily, especially, seemed fascinated by her baby brother. "I'll help take care of him, Mama Katherine," she promised solemnly. "I'll read to him and teach him things, just like you taught me." Katherine's heart swelled at the title Lily had begun using shortly after the wedding, Mama Katherine, to distinguish from the mother she had lost but never forgotten. It was a perfect solution, honoring both the past and the present. "I know you will, sweetheart," Katherine assured her. "You'll be a wonderful big sister." As summer faded into autumn once more, and James grew from a newborn to an alert, smiling infant, Katherine found moments to reflect on the extraordinary journey that had brought her to this life. From widowhood and near destitution to a thriving family and purpose-filled days, it seemed almost too much blessing for one lifetime. One evening, as she stood on the porch watching the sunset paint the Nevada sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Isaac joined her, James sleeping peacefully in his arms. "Penny for your thoughts," he said, his free arm sliding around her waist. "I was thinking about that night at the stagecoach station, how desperate I felt, how uncertain the future seemed." She leaned into his embrace. "And how everything changed because you happened to be there at exactly the right moment." Isaac smiled down at her. "Providence, my mother would have called it." "Providence," Katherine agreed, watching as Emma and Lily raced across the yard, chasing the barn cat's latest litter of kittens. "Or perhaps simply love finding its way home." Isaac's arm tightened around her. Home. That's what you've given us, Katherine, not just a well-run house, but a true home. She turned in his arms, careful not to disturb the sleeping baby, and you gave the same to Emma and me when we had nowhere else to go. Rising on tiptoe, she pressed a gentle kiss to his lips. Your daughter needed a home, my daughter wanted a mother. And we all found exactly what we needed, Isaac finished, his eyes warm with love as he gazed down at her. Each other. As the last light faded from the sky and the first stars appeared, they stood together on the porch of the home they had built, not just the physical structure, but the family within it, forged from loss and need, strengthened by love, and destined to thrive under the vast Nevada sky for many years to come.